My girlfriend used me to babysit her kids while she partied with her XO. I left in the middle of the night and never came back. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I thought I'd finally found someone who valued loyalty as much as I did. Her name was Vanessa, 32, a single mom with 2 kids, and the kind of laugh that made you forget how lonely you were. We met at a mutual friend's BBQ, both of us hovering awkwardly by the food table. I cracked a joke about the burnt burgers. She rolled her eyes in mock disgust. And somehow, that 5-minute conversation turned into a 3-hour exchange about life, mistakes, and second chances. She told me she'd been through a messy breakup, but she wasn't bitter, just tired. I admired that. I'd always believed strength wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, steady, like her. The way she talked about her kids, the softness in her eyes when she mentioned them, it made me want to be better, to be someone they could depend on. My friends warned me. "Man, single moms come with drama," one said. Another added, "Don't get too involved, it's complicated." But I brushed it off. Vanessa wasn't like that. She was different, real. We stayed up late texting about everything, what we feared, what we dreamed of, what love meant when you'd already been hurt once. She made me feel chosen, like I finally belonged somewhere. When she asked me to move in after 6 months, it didn't feel rushed. It felt right. I told myself this was the beginning of a family, hers, mine, ours. I carried my boxers up her apartment stairs with a smile, her kids helping me unpack, giggling as I pretended to trip over a toy truck that night. As we sat on the couch, surrounded by half-open boxers and empty pizza boxers, she leaned her head on my shoulder and whispered, "Welcome home." I didn't know then those 2 words would come to mean something very different later. The first few weeks felt like a dream. Every morning, the smell of pancakes filled the kitchen, while sunlight spilled across the countertop. Vanessa hummed softly to herself, hair tied up, moving between making coffee and packing lunchboxes. Her kids, Liam and Ella, started calling me uncle at first, but that changed quickly. Liam would race to the door when I came home, yelling, "You're back!" It was chaos, but it was the kind of chaos that made the world feel warm again. I started taking on small responsibilities without even realizing it. Fixing the wobbly cabinet, picking up the kids when Vanessa was stuck at work, helping with bedtime stories. It all came naturally. She'd smile and say, "You're really saving me, you know?" And that one sentence felt like a medal. I wanted to prove I could handle it, that I could be the man she and her kids deserved. Sometimes, though the evenings stretched longer than I expected, Vanessa began staying late at work. "Just one more shift," she'd say. The first few times, I didn't think much of it. She was providing for her kids, and I respected that. But then work turned into girls' nights. A few drinks with friends, nothing major, she said. I'd stay home, put the kids to bed, and wait up for her just to make sure she got home safe. The pattern grew. Nights out became weekends away. When she returned, she'd hug me, kiss me on the cheek, and say, "You're amazing. I don't know what I'd do without you." I wanted to believe her. I needed to, but one Friday night, as I sat watching cartoons with the kids, while the clock ticked past midnight, a small thought crossed my mind. Was I building a family? Or just filling in for the man who left? It didn't happen overnight. Crept in slowly, like fog rolling in before dawn. One day, I realized I hadn't had a single night to myself in weeks. Vanessa's girls' nights became her routine, and my weekends disappeared into school drop-offs, dishes, and bedtime stories. I didn't resent the kids, they were innocent, but something in me started to feel off. One Saturday, I asked gently, "Hey, when's the last time we had a night just for us?" She looked up from her phone, barely glancing at me. "You know how busy I am. Don't start with that." "I'm not starting anything," I said. "I just miss you." Her voice sharpened. "You knew I had responsibilities. If that's too much, maybe this isn't for you." That line hit harder than I expected. Maybe it was the way she said it, like she was daring me to walk away. I didn't. Instead, I tried harder. I took the kids to the park, made their lunches, even helped with Liam's science project while Vanessa worked late. I kept telling myself that love meant sacrifice, but it wasn't love I was living, it was obligation. Every time I tried to talk to her about boundaries, she'd twist it into guilt. "You think I'm a bad mom because I have a life?" She'd say, eyes shining with tears, and I'd back off, apologizing like I was the one who'd crossed a line at work. My coworkers started noticing how tired I looked. One even joked, "Man, you sure that's your girlfriend and not your boss?" I laughed it off, but the words lingered. The truth was beginning to sink in. Even if I wasn't ready to admit it yet, I wasn't her partner anymore. I was her babysitter and paid, unappreciated, and trapped by the illusion of love. By month 6, I could barely recognize the person I'd become. My days revolved around school schedules, grocery lists, and waiting for Vanessa's texts that always came too late to matter. The woman who once looked at me with admiration now spoke to me like a subordinate. Still, every time I thought about confronting her, guilt held me back like a leash. One night after another, long evening alone with the kids, I tried again. "Vanessa," I said quietly, "I feel like I'm doing everything here. I just need some help, or at least some honesty." She didn't even look up from her wine glass. "Wow, I can't believe you'd throw that in my face after everything I've been through." "I'm not throwing anything," I replied, trying to stay calm. "I just want us to feel like a team." "Maybe you should stop keeping score then," she snapped, standing up and walking to the kitchen. "I thought you were different. Guess I was wrong." The next day, she acted like nothing happened, hugging me, laughing, asking what I wanted for dinner. It was like living with two different people. The warm, affectionate Vanessa who made promises in daylight and the cold. Distant one who punished me with silence after dark. Soon she began using the kids to control me. If I mentioned feeling overwhelmed, she'd say, "Don't say that around them, you'll scare them," making me feel like the villain. When I asked about her weekend plans, she'd sigh, "You're not their father, remember? You don't get to tell me what to do." Every word chipped away at the version of me that believed love was about patience. I wasn't sure when it happened, but somewhere between her tears and her accusations, I stopped defending myself. I just complied, and deep down, I knew Vanessa had learned exactly how to make me stay without ever asking me to dot it. Started subtly small things that didn't make sense at first. Vanessa began dressing differently when she went out. More makeup, new perfume, outfits I hadn't seen before. When I asked, she laughed. "You're so jealous," she said, smiling in that teasing way that used to melt me. But this time, it didn't. Something in her tone had changed, mocking, instead of playful. One night, while she was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the counter. Normally, I'd never snoop, but my gut twisted when I saw the name flash across the screen, Markid's dad. The message was short, same place as last time, followed by a heart emoji. My throat went dry. I stared at it for what felt like an hour before quietly setting the phone down. When she came out, towel wrapped around her, I tried to sound calm. "Vanessa, are you seeing Mark again?" Asterisk, she froze for half a second, just long enough to confirm everything, then scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. We're just talking for the kids' sake." "Then why the heart emoji?" I asked. She gave a hollow laugh. "You're seriously invading my privacy now?" Wow, she turned it around so fast I almost believed I was the problem. Almost that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there, listening to her soft breathing beside me, and realized I didn't know this woman anymore. Over the next few days, her girls' nights suddenly aligned with weekends when Mark didn't have custody. I'd tuck the kids in, feed the dog, and watch the clock. Every tick slicing through whatever hope I had left. One evening, Liam asked, "Is Mom coming home tonight?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy, she'll be home soon." But deep down, I already knew she wasn't coming home to us. She was going back to him. The truth hit like a slow poison. Every day, a new symptom. Every night, a new ache. I stopped recognizing my reflection in the mirror. There were dark circles under my eyes. My jaw clenched from grinding my teeth in my sleep. At work, people asked if I was okay, and I'd shrug it off with a smile that felt rehearsed. Inside, though, I was unraveling. Vanessa's absences became normal. The kids stopped asking where she was. They just looked to me for comfort. I started doing everything, packing lunches, reading bedtime stories, attending school meetings while Vanessa came home reeking of cheap cologne and lies. When I'd confront her, she'd tilt her head, smirk, and whisper, "You're imagining things, baby. Don't ruin what we have." What we had, those 3 words cut deeper each time. I'd sit alone after the kids went to sleep, staring at the front door, waiting for the sound of her keys. Some nights, she came home smiling, humming like nothing was wrong. Other nights, she didn't come home at all. One evening, I finally snapped. "Vanessa, I can't do this anymore," I said, voice shaking. "You disappear for days, and I'm the one raising your kids. I'm losing myself." She rolled her eyes. "You knew I had a life before you. Stop acting like a martyr." "A life, or a double life?" I asked quietly. Her face hardened. "If you can't handle being with a woman who has responsibilities, maybe you should find someone easier." That line broke something in me. There was no remorse, no love, just contempt. I realized she didn't need me as a partner. She needed me as a placeholder. That night, when I lay in bed beside her, pretending to sleep, I knew I was more alone next to her than I'd ever been in my entire life. The universe has a cruel way of confirming what your heart already knows. It was a Saturday night when Vanessa claimed she had a work dinner with her boss. She even dressed professionally, navy dress, blazer heels that clicked on the tile. "Don't wait up," she said casually, kissing my cheek before disappearing out the door. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A message from my friend Adam. "Bro, isn't this your girl?" Attached was a blurry photo taken at a local bar. Vanessa was there, laughing with Mark, her hand on his chest, his arm around her waist. My stomach dropped. I stared at that picture until the screen dimmed. Every ounce of denial draining from me. When she got home past midnight, I was sitting on the couch. "How was the work dinner?" I asked. She froze, eyes narrowing. "Fine. Why?" "Because your boss looks a lot like your ex," I said, holding up my phone. Her face went pale, then instantly twisted into anger. "You're spying on me now? What the hell is wrong with you? You lied to me, Vanessa." "Oh, grow up. It was just a drink." "You're acting insane." Her voice rose until the kids appeared in the hallway, sleepy-eyed and scared. I lowered my tone, glancing toward them. "Go back to bed, guys. Everything's fine." When they disappeared down the hall, Vanessa hissed, "You're pathetic. I can't even talk to my kid's father without you losing it." I didn't respond. I couldn't. The betrayal wasn't just the cheating, it was the cruelty, the way she made me feel small for caring. That night, she went to bed without another word, and I sat on the couch until sunrise, numb, holding my phone like it still mattered. That picture became the line between who I was and who I was about to become after that night. Something in me broke completely. I stopped confronting her. I stopped hoping. I just moved through the motions like a ghost, doing everything because someone had to. Vanessa didn't even pretend anymore. She came and went as she pleased, leaving me with the kids while she figured things out. Her excuses became lazy, her affection mechanical. I wasn't her boyfriend. I was her built-in safety net. One morning, Liam asked, "Why doesn't Mom eat breakfast with us anymore?" I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. "She's just busy, buddy," I said, forcing a smile. But inside, something twisted. They didn't deserve this confusion. They didn't deserve her lies or mine. That weekend, she disappeared again. No explanation, no goodbye. Just silence. I called her, no answer. Texted her, no reply. I spent 2 full nights with her kids, reading bedtime stories, pretending everything was normal, while the walls felt like they were closing in. I barely slept, terrified they'd wake up and ask questions I couldn't answer. When she finally came back Sunday night, she smelled like perfume and cigarette smoke. "Relax," she said, tossing her purse on the table. "You're so dramatic." "I've been taking care of your kids for 2 days," I said quietly. "Congratulations." "You want a medal?" She shot back. That was it. No apology, no remorse, just mockery. I looked at her then and realized she wasn't the woman I fell in love with. Maybe she never was. I'd built this fantasy around a version of her that didn't exist. That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat alone on the couch in the dark, the house silent except for the hum of the fridge. I felt the weight of every mistake, every time I'd chosen love over self-respect, and somewhere between exhaustion and heartbreak. One thought rose above the noise: if I don't leave now, I never will. The decision came quietly, without shouting or tears, just a heavy, exhausted certainty. I'd given everything, and it still wasn't enough. So, I decided to stop giving. I spent the next few days pretending everything was fine, but inside, I was already gone. Every moment became part of my plan. When Vanessa left for errands, I started packing small things. First, my clothes, a few books, old photos that still felt like mine. I slipped them into boxes and stored them in my car trunk while she was gone. At night, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing it in my head. There'd be no confrontation, no goodbye, just silence. She didn't deserve an explanation. She'd never listened anyway. The only part that tore me apart was the kids. They didn't choose any of this. They didn't deserve to wake up wondering why I disappeared. So I wrote them a note. Short, simple, honest. I'm sorry I couldn't stay. None of this is your fault. You're both amazing, and you deserve a mom who's present and someone who truly loves her. I folded it and slipped it into Liam's backpack, hoping one day he'd read it and understand. When Friday came, Vanessa left again, dressed up and smiling, saying she'd be back late as soon as her car pulled away. I packed the rest quietly, methodically. The apartment felt eerie, like it already knew I was leaving, before I closed the door for the last time. I looked around at the life I'd built. There were the toys on the floor, the family photos where I was just a placeholder, and whispered, "Never again." Then I locked the door, walked down the stairs, and drove off into the night without looking back. For the first time in months, I wasn't scared. I was free. Freedom didn't feel like victory at first. It felt hollow, like walking out of a burning house and realizing everything you saved still smells like smoke. The first few nights in my new apartment were quiet. Too quiet. No laughter, no cartoons, no sound of little feet running down the hall. Just me, my thoughts, and the hum of an empty fridge. I kept my phone on silent, but the missed calls piled up. Vanessa's name flashed over and over. I ignored her until curiosity won. I played one voicemail. Her voice was sharp, furious. "You think you can just walk out on us? On my kids, you're pathetic." Another message came hours later, the tone completely different, soft, trembling. "Please, just come home. The kids miss you." "I miss you." I didn't respond to either. I knew it wasn't love calling, it was control. But that didn't stop the guilt from clawing at me. I'd built a bond with those kids. I'd tucked them in, listened to their dreams, and promised I'd be there. Now I'd broken that promise, even if staying meant destroying myself. Some nights, I'd dream about Liam's laugh or Ella's drawings on the fridge. I'd wake up in tears, reminding myself I didn't abandon them, I escaped her. Still, that didn't make it easier. To keep from spiraling, I threw myself into work, started therapy, and tried to rebuild a life outside her shadow. My therapist said something that stuck. You can love the kids and still choose yourself. I didn't believe it at first, but slowly, it started to feel true. Then, 2 months later, I got a text from an unknown number. Just 3 words that made my chest tighten again. "She's back with him." The message came from Adam, the same friend who'd sent me the photo that night at the bar. He followed up with a screenshot from social media, Vanessa and Mark, smiling together at a kid's birthday party, captioned, "Family, the way it's meant to be." I stared at it for a long time, the irony twisting inside me. The man she'd sworn she was over was back in her arms like nothing ever happened. At first, I felt nothing. Then came anger, not the wild kind that screams, but the quiet kind that burns slow and deep. All those nights she'd made me question my worth. All the guilt she piled on me, all while she was crawling back to the man who'd left her in the first place. I realized I'd been nothing more than her emotional crutch, someone to hold up her life until she could rebuild her fantasy. But karma, as it turned out, didn't need my help. Within a few weeks, I heard through friends that Mark had already started cheating on her again. Same cycle, different lies. Vanessa's posts turned bitter, cryptic quotes about betrayal, pictures of wine glasses and lonely dinners. I could have left it at that. I almost did. But then I remembered the way she'd humiliated me, twisting every truth until I doubted my own reality. So, I forwarded Mark a few screenshot-sold texts where Vanessa had called him useless, lazy, and bragged about how easily she could make him jealous. I didn't add a single word, just hit send. 2 days later, both their accounts went private. A mutual friend told me Mark moved out again. I didn't celebrate, but I did smile for the first time in months, not out of revenge, but relief, because finally, she was drowning in the same lies she'd built to trap me. Months passed before the silence finally felt like peace instead of loneliness. My apartment no longer echoed, it breathed. I started filling it with life again, a new couch, a few plants, framed photos that didn't hide someone else's pain. For the first time in years, I woke up without dread clawing at my chest. No more pretending, no more guilt, just me. Therapy helped me understand something I'd been too broken to see. Love without respect isn't love, it's servitude. Vanessa didn't want a partner. She wanted control, and for too long, I gave it to her because I thought compassion meant endurance. But compassion without boundaries isn't noble, it's self-destruction. One evening, while walking home from work, I saw a woman pushing a stroller across the street. For a second, she looked like Vanessa, and my heart stumbled. But then I looked closer, different face, different story. I realized I wasn't haunted anymore. The past was still there. But it no longer owned me. I still thought about the kids, sometimes Liam's laughter, Ella's drawings, but not with pain anymore. Just a quiet wish that they'd grow up and learn what love should actually feel like. Maybe one day, they'd remember the man who stayed when no one else did. And maybe they'd understand why he had to go. A few weeks later, I opened my journal and wrote one final line about it all. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness, it's reclaiming your life from someone who never deserved it. I closed the notebook, took a deep breath, and smiled. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't someone's backup plan caretaker or emotional punching bag. I was just me, whole, free, and finally at peace.